on to the next trending subject out there. And this subject just keeps coming back. You know what I mean? It comes strong, and we talk about it for a few months, and everything's all PEDs. Well, we're back, guys. That seems to be the topic of the week. I saw Ryan did a little just kind of talking about it on one of his live feeds, and was just talking about his whole experience of using PEDs, how he felt, just kind of gave everything. And it just kind of got the talk going across the community. Next thing we know that Neil Pickup had on Coach Ray. He also had RVJ, and we all know that RVJ's got some really strong feelings against PEDs. So, he started going on, and then next thing he goes on his own channel and he's bringing up the subject. I also seen Aussie arm wrestler bringing it up with Uncle John. So what's your thoughts, bro? Where you stand on PED use in our sport?
Look, I think to address everyone who's talking about it and has a and the way that they're talking about it is to try and they're talking about it very generally, right? They're talking about all PEDs, and we'll get into the nitty gritty of this shortly. But I think the approach from people who are natty, who just have a global disagreement with any sort of PEDs, great. But they're going about it, I believe, in a very wrong and a very naive way. So, for example, what RBJ kind of, in a nutshell, said that we need to pay for our own testing, and it's like a part of being the sport. You want to be a part of the sport, go pay for your own testing. Now, within Australia, within the US, within first world countries, sure, it's doable, right? If you go, you got to get the drug test done here, here, and here. You can only get it done at these particular testing facilities, right?
I'm sorry, but how much are they? Just for everybody to know.
They vary from country to country. In Australia, it's expensive.
I think it's expensive everywhere, man. Isn't it like $75 or something like that for?
Oh, bro, we're a couple of $100 here. We're talking $400 or $500.
Dude, that's a problem, guys, because the arm wrestler guys are not looking to spend, any extra money they need it. I mean, everybody's tight on money right now, just traveling to the tournaments and everything, gas money, all that. It's affecting the turnouts and all. So as far as adding now, we're going to start putting more fees on. I just think that's going to discourage a lot of people. But go on. I didn't mean to cut you off, Lachlan.
No. Good. Yeah, no, you're 100% right. Let's open discussion. It's not about cutting me off. I think this is worth going back and forth with quite a lot, and that's one thing, right? But here's where that problem, here's where that falls down, is when you've got stuff that gets out of your system in 4 hours. Like, I only just recently learned that growth hormone is out of your piss 4 hours after injecting it. So it's like someone can be months and months and months doing massive doses of growth hormone, and then go, oh, I have to do a test. Oh, great. I'll take my growth hormone at night now, is what they're going to say, and then go get the test in the morning, right? Because you can't order someone to go for a random test. We have work, we have families, we have this. It's going to cost hundreds of dollars that we might have to kind of save up for. We have time to prepare for these tests and then do whatever the fuck we want. So it doesn't makes sense. We're relying on men to hold their word and be honest, but let's look at the history of the Olympics. The Olympics is the most wholesome, family-orientated sport we have today that has the tightest drug testing in the world. And guess what? People are still cheating it and getting away with it for years. Lance Armstrong did 7 Tour de France before he got busted, right? We have all the strength athletes, the Olympic lifters, like I said, growth hormone out of your system in 4 hours, right? If you know that you're going to get randomized drug tests and some dude's going to rocket up your house at any time and say piss in a cup, you're going to take that sort of shit at night. They're not coming at midnight. They're not coming at 10 o'clock at night. And you still get to gas up. You know what I mean? You've got drugs like, for example, I learned when I was over in Turkey, a lot of the Euros love taking Turinabol. Now, I did some Googling about Turinabol. It is the only PED that was developed for performance-enhancing use. All the other ones have kind of medical uses, right? It's the only one that is developed for performance, and it was developed by the Olympic, like it was a state funded research drug. From 1964, it was active in the Olympics to 1984. That's 20 years of Germans. That was the Germans developed it, right? And it's like, that's 20 years of Olympics where guys are gassing up and getting away with drug tests because that shit's out of your system real quick as well. So it's like, what do? You do hair follicle tests. Well, I might like to shave my head. I've got friends who aren't on gear and there's not a hair on their fucking body. So there goes that. You can't, well, if you want to be a high-level athlete, you've got to have hair on your body. So it just falls down too much. And it's a very, and this is the thing that these guys are not taking into account is how to get away with these drug tests. Because, we're not going to you're going to pay for blood tests, and there's still ways, there's different things you can take to get that out of your system as well. Like, you just have to look at the Olympics.
I mean, I think if they're taking stuff like, you could take propionate, it's 2-3 days, suspension. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, it's literally in and out of you and within a day. So, I mean, there's so many different ways to get around that, and where, a lot of guys are going to use them, and it's pretty basic, basic
and
info.
Everyone's going to cheat.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to cheat. But let's say we do RVJ's idea, right? And I'm going to travel all the way to Australia to arm wrestle some dude from Ukraine. And I'm relying on that blood test to say, that piss test or that drug test or whatever it is. And I got to rely on that. Hell no, right? Hell no. So it's like, I've got to go in super clean, right? But I know that old mate's on. And this is the whole thing. Like, the Russians only recently got banned from the Olympics for doping. Every country's going to do it. When you put money on the line, you put reputation on the line, you put the pride of the country on the line, they're all going to fucking cheat. So, you're talking about having to change the human condition, and that's never going to happen. It's never, ever going to happen. So what do? Do we just accept it? Because I know the bunch of WAF guys are on it too. They're all on this shit, right? There might be a few guys that aren't, right? And I would be shocked. But we're expecting to believe these guys honor, and you think, if you've been lying for 10 years about being on shit, you're not going to all of a sudden start telling the truth, are you? Right? Out of a weird sense of honor that someone's pushed on you. So we're relying on people's words, which is really the only way to prove it, right? And fuck that. Like, everyone's a bunch of lies. When it comes to their own pride and reputation, they're going to lie through their teeth. Like, I don't trust a single thing.
What is the answer then? So, what I'm thinking is, if you guys are natural and you want to kind of deal with only natural guys, I mean, your best bet is to stay in the WAF, compete in that events, they got the random drug testing. But, you're still going to have a couple of people that are going to be, finding the loopholes, that kind of goes with everything in life. So in my eyes, rather than let's just keep bringing it up and all, we know those leagues that you will be tested and all. So, that's where you guys go and that's where you make your focus. But as far as, I guess like East versus West and King of Table and all that, I mean, is there any other way that we could do this, that it's more of a fair playing ground? Do we just say, these are non-tested, so anything goes? I mean, that's what's kind of going on right now.
It's Lottie, right? Like, you go to Zloty and you know that everyone's on. So does that level the playing field? And this is, look, to then extrapolate on that point, we go, okay, it's level because everyone's on, right? But that's not true either, because they might be taking more, they might be taking different compounds, they might be taking this, taking that. We don't know what they're taking, and it can affect the out. I agree with RVJ that it absolutely can affect the outcome depending on what someone's on. But at the same time, let's talk about Ronnie Coleman's views. We get guys like, we saw how much Ryan was talking about, how much he was on. Now, he would be someone who I would call like a low responder to that sort of stuff, to PEDs, a low responder. You get someone like Levan, massive responder, right? He's that 1%. He's that Ronnie Coleman genetics where he don't have to take that much. He's that Chris Bumstead, that bodybuilder, hyper responder, and just gets yoked, right? And what do? That's genetics.
Yeah.
So if we pull all of that back and we're going to go natural only, well, the guy with the amazing genetics like RVJ is going to come out on top.
Exactly.
Same thing. You get a guy with amazing genetics and he starts gassing up, he's on top of the fucking world, right? And he would have been anyway. So if we woke up tomorrow, Levan's still going to be number one. Right?
Yeah,
we woke up tomorrow.
This is my only other problem though, is everybody's just assuming because you're on the juice that that's the everything, that's totally not, and that I could attest for completely. I mean, you could develop your muscles, 25 years and max them out and look the strongest there is, but it's actually the tendons and the joints that is the real, that's what's making everything happen in arm wrestling. And it actually works against you when you're doing juice and you're not building up those tendons as well, because your muscles are maxing out, they're being pulled, which is also putting constant tension on the tendons. So there is two ways of looking at it, but what I'm hearing a lot is the guys that don't know anything about it, they just got this whole, you take this shit and you're Superman, and you're gonna be, if you're a 7 arm wrestler, now all of a sudden you're a 10 arm wrestler. That is so not true. So that's the other thing that a lot of people don't understand. And what is your take on that? Do you feel that that steroids really do make that big of a difference, or is it, like I'm saying, it actually could work against you, where a lot of guys could hurt themselves because the tendons can't hold on?
Yeah. It's definitely like, it's a fear of mine when we get someone who's come from powerlifting or bodybuilding and get into arm wrestling. It's like, your tendons aren't going to be able to keep up. So it's, we got to try and keep a lid on these guys. But it depends. I think the compounds change for arm wrestling. Like, well, let's consider what Ryan was on. He was on MPP, growth hormone, all that sort of stuff, and like Anavar. That is all stuff that helps the joints. There are stuff that help build tendons, growth, especially growth hormone. We know the big Russians, I'm not going to say anyone, they're not big Russians, the big, not just the Russians, the top guys in arm wrestling. Growth hormone is a massive thing, But then on the flip side, if you abuse growth hormone for too long, it can cause carpal tunnel and stuff like that in your wrist, which is the worst for arm wrestling, right? Yeah. So it's, it's not the same as bodybuilding in that you get the genetic freaks, and then the guy who wins is the guy that tends to take the most stuff and has the greatest tolerance for taking the most stuff. It's not quite like that. Sure, Levan is probably taking quite a lot. I mean, it's not any secret that he's doing some stuff, and he probably has an amazing tolerance to it. But you get someone like genetically who may be on the same level, can tolerate the same amount, but doesn't get anywhere near the results. So it's like, it comes down to genetics again. Like, the gear isn't everything. If you don't have the genetics to begin with, then the gear has got nothing to work with. Like, sure, you'll get stronger. Absolutely, you'll get stronger. But like, if you've got to take, 1,000 milligrams or something, and it gets you 10% stronger, where you can give that same 1,000 milligrams of stuff to someone else who's a hyper responder and they get 20% stronger. Like, genetics are still the baseline leveling of all of this. It doesn't matter what you take. Don't have the genetics, the gear is only going to take you so far. Have the genetics, yeah, it'll take you further, but like, you take all of that away. If we woke up tomorrow and the world was clean of steroids, they didn't exist, PED'S didn't exist, then those people who had the genetic, those hyper responders and stuff, they're still going to be at the top. Yeah. Like RVJ, he's a bit of a freak, right? But where he falls down and in his, his own estimation, is he's even said he never applied himself as diligently as he thought he should have or could have, and potentially he never actually reached his genetic potential in the first place, and this is why he isn't world number one, right? But you get a guy like that with a mentality like mine, or a mentality like a lot of the Europeans, where they just train their head off, and they're super, like, they don't drink, they're super dedicated, they're all these things. And you take RVJ genetics, and my God, what an incredible arm wrestler at the top. Like, he'd be at the fucking pinnacle. But because he's, you know, he's got kids, he's got life, he likes to drink, he likes to party, he likes to do all these things. And that's going to take away from that top tier. And look how high he went with that sort of attitude.
Yeah.
So it's like, level it out, RVJ, and you would still be at the top. So at the end of the day, I think it all boils down to genetics is still the defining factor of anything strength related. How do we fix it? I mean, ask the Olympic Committee. They've been trying to fix it for the last 100 years. And we've got some of the best minds in the world that are trying to fix this by improving the testing and what they can test for, improving, so many things. They are doing their very best, and they have the most funding in the world to be able to figure out how to clean it up. And guess what? They can't. So what do you do?
Well, one of the things that I'm thinking is that for it to actually, if we wanted to get rid of it completely, the only way that you have a shot at doing that is making one set of rules for every organization. Now, I don't ever see that happening. But as far as with the WAF, you know, they got it where, you know, I think there's like a 4-year ban if you test or something. And then sometimes you could even, I think the second offense, you could get a life ban where you can't, you know, compete in anything dealing with the WAF. So, you know, you would literally have to get every league in agreement to do that same thing and be willing to test. But if there's 1 or 2 leagues that are not going to do that, you know what I mean, then, you know, it's just, you know, you're going to have people that are just going to be doing that. And, you know, it's going to definitely kind of be unfair because the guys that are using it are getting the edge. You know, but that's my thing. You know, I feel like it would have to be across the board. You know, what do you think about
people
that?
bend the rules and get around the testing. It's like the Olympics. Like, if you're a Olympic sprinter, you've only, you know, you don't have that many places to compete on that world level, right? So it's all a part of the Olympic committee, and they're still getting done. You know,
I mean, there's always going to be those couple of guys, you know, but every single time when they do it, they're going to have that in the back of their mind. They're taking a chance now. And it's good, you know, with a punishment so bad, you know, you're practically done arm wrestling. You get hit with that now for 4 years, you can't compete. That kind of just takes you out of the whole mix of everything. Will you ever even be able to get back to that? So I think that would be the only way of going about it. Now, do we want it? Do I want it? No, I definitely don't want it. You know, I like seeing these guys that are just, you know, unbelievably genetics, and now they're getting maxed out, and, you know, it's bringing in a lot of eyes. You know, people want to see some different, you know, and, you know, I don't think, you know, the Olympic way is the way for arm wrestling. You know, we've been chasing this for, you know, 20, 30 years with these hopes. And, you know, I honestly, I don't really see that being the big move that's going to put us in the mainstream. You know,
because we're niche. We're niche. Yeah. We're always going to be niche, you know, and it, like, I mean, at the end of the day, what is mainstream with social media, right? But, you know, it ultimately will be niche. So how do we get people interested? You know, we're so overloaded with social media, with all this content, that it has to grab the eye. Now, Devin does an incredible job. He's charismatic, and he's massive. Yeah. And then you got Levan. Like, look at the eyes that Levan has brought, right? Because he's a freak, right? Like, and that's a part of it. People want to see the freak shows, and unfortunately, that's what's bringing the money. That's what's bringing the interest. That's what's bringing eyes to the sport and gives people like us an ability to be able to earn money off this sport. And it's because of the freaky deakiness of it all, you know? And unfortunately, I don't have an answer. I don't think there's a way to fix it, because it's not just arm wrestling. It's the human condition
yeah.
where people will do anything and everything. They will risk their health. Like, you would think that, you know, we talk about a 4-year ban, but you got guys taking mega doses of shit like Tren and, like, you know, whatever. Like, they're going to die early, right? Yeah. Is that not a risk of mega dosing on growth hormone and Tren? And, like, you know, I know guys that are taking, you know, two grams of stuff a week, you know, and you think you're not going to make it to 60. Is that not like a penalty that is scary enough? No, because people's pride and the way they want to win, and winning is always going to trump the long-term loss. You know, you take 4 years out, you get someone like that, fuck it, they're going to do something else for 4 years. You know what I mean? And they've got the athletic ability to do so. So, look, I don't think there's an answer. And to be honest, I'm a little bit sick of the chatter about it for guys who fucking know nothing about it. Like, they think they know, but it's all general. It's like, no. You can get away with it. They've been getting away with it because stuff that's in and out of your system really quick.
The stuff that they're saying as facts are just totally off. You know, you hear a lot of the stuff, and you know, they don't really understand steroids. You know, and you know that's it's showing in a lot of their arguments and all. But you know, I definitely I hear their argument. I definitely understand it. You know, and you know, it is kind of unfair in a way, but you know, the only way to even it out is they're gonna just have to, you know, jump in, I guess, you know.
That's it. Yeah. And look, don't get me wrong. If I woke up tomorrow and they didn't exist and our sport did have a legitimate way of being clean, all for it. I'm fucking all in.
Just not.
But
reality.
I just don't see it happening. Yeah. It's not reality. It's never going to happen. So what do? Do we keep on bashing the door down? And, you know, maybe these people are making the content because they've got so many comments of, you know, of guys with really, really strong opinions about it. And that's great. It's great that there's a lot of people that have a strong moral code about it. But there's also a lot of people that don't give a fuck. And they're going to do what they're going to do. So, you know, you can't go to war with it because you're not going to win. People are always going to do it. So it's either just, you know, have your opinion, realize that no one cares, and people are going to do what they do anyway. So at the end of the day, I'm sorry, it's a little bit of just shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
No. And if you're not paying for an event, then you have no right to say who's in that event or what people can take. If you are going to pay for an event and you're going to go through and you're going to vet people that you think, in your opinion, are clean, great. Hold that event. I will support it. I will share it. I will do everything in my power to promote that event the same way I would promote anyone that is trying to do something big for the sport. No problem with it. But if you're not going to do that, you're not going to put your money up, shut up.
I agree.